Welcome to the Spotlight Series. I'm your host, Scott Nern. It's Tuesday night. We're live from the Queeset Inn. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this information, especially if you're a Warwick resident or you're interested in what's happening in Warwick, because we have a candidate, Marie, going for District 21 House.
That's correct.
Welcome to the Spotlight Series. Welcome back, I should say.
Thank you so much, Scott. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Give us a little information about yourself.
I am a married mother of 3. My children are getting older, 24, 22, and 16, 2 daughters and a son. I, in a previous life, was an editor of a sports magazine and a stay-at-home mom. So it was a very cushy little part-time job. And upon turning 40, I had a wild hair, and I said, I'm going to nursing school. Everyone said, you're crazy. Go build on what you know. I said, no, I'm doing it. And I became a nurse. And I have worked for the State Psychiatric Hospital, Roger Williams. I worked for the VA. And I currently teach at CCRI doing the CNA instruction.
Great.
Thank you.
And what is a nice girl like you running for political office?
So I wouldn't even know where to begin, but I think I do know where to begin. The children. Really, when I look at the state that I love so much and all that it has to offer, and then I look at the worries that are cropping up financially for the state and otherwise in order to keep it this wonderful place we call home, I'm worried about the children. I'm worried about the next generation. And maybe some of that stemmed from my daughter saying to me, we don't know if we can afford to live here. We are going to move away when we get our graduate degrees or when we get married. And I was like, you can't leave me. But, you know, that's one motivating factor of many, many motivating factors. I care about my grandmother who's in her 90s, who lives next door to me, and, you know, the struggles of seniors. I care about when I retire, if I had to move away because I can't afford the taxes, how do I leave my parents? So I worry about this sort of sandwiched generation. It's not just the kids. Our infrastructure, there's so many problems to be grappled with, but a primary motivator is let me get in and do some hard work so don't look at my kids and say, I couldn't be bothered. No, I could be bothered. I want to be bothered. Let's do it.
Okay. So talk a little bit about District 21. What is the general area so people are out there?
District 21 is possibly the geographic center of the state. Don't quote me, but I suspect it might be. It encompasses Pilgrim Park, Hoxie, Connecticut, and all of the surrounding airport areas. So it's very central to everyone. I think there's maybe 10, maybe 11,000. I have the data, but I was at my head 10 or 11,000 voters in the area. It's comprised of mostly middle-class families. We have a lot of seniors as well. Not a lot of housing available for young adults starting out, but we're changing that now.
Sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, I'm going to hit you with some big issues for the areas.
Okay.
That there's no gotchas, but I think it's fair to talk about things, and I may interject what the common myth is.
Let's do it.
So let's talk a little bit about finance and taxes.
Okay.
Is it a spending allocation issue? There's a lot of money if I look at the state budget and how it's doled out to communities. And I'm going to be shoot from a voter, and I am actually your voter. I'm in your district, but I look at it as there's lots of gimmicks. I hate to be that way as a taxpayer. We got rid of the car tax, but we still really pay it. Mm-hmm. We get rid of other fees, but we still really pay them. Mm-hmm. It just comes out of a different way to get it out of my pocket.
Right.
And I look at the ways we raise revenue. If I was to quote the last 40 years, there was a lottery. It's going to go just for education, then it went to the general fund.
Right.
Casinos are really bad, but we can have them to make money. Table games, really bad and evil, but, well, okay, we'll have that. Marijuana, really bad, but, well, okay, we can have that. Mm-hmm. So I think we've run out of magic bullets to try to give.
Those are the big ones. What about all the little ones that go unnoticed, like the bagel tax? Or they recently passed, fairly recently, the service tax. Right. You know, those were things that were not taxed. Almost everything is taxed at this point. What are you getting, 50 cents on your dollar? I don't even know after you pay federal, state, etc. Do I think it's a spending problem? I'm afraid it is a spending problem. I don't think it's a fact. There's a lot of money And everyone has their hand in that pie. Everyone wants a piece of it. Well, I've got a great project, and I've got a great project, and I need money for this necessary project. The pie isn't unlimited. And as long as we keep not having the spending control, they're going to have to keep reaching to the source of funds, which is your pocket, the taxpayer's pocket. And it's a massive problem. Sometimes taxpayers harm themselves that way. They get the opportunity to sign off on a big, cool new thing or something that sounds good on the surface or sounds free on the surface. And within a couple of years' time, they realize, oh, wait, the person funding that is ooh. And, so do I think it's a spending allocation problem? 100% I do. Do I have a magic bullet solution for that? I'm afraid I don't. But at the state level, a lot of people for many years, I am not the first, have talked about bringing in an inspector general to oversee the budget, somebody that is independent, out of state, person hired for the purpose, who could really drill down on the, hey, wait, there is some waste in this project. Or wait, maybe this one shouldn't be getting the funds. It's already completed, but we keep writing the check. What is that position any more than just a budget balancer? And it's my understanding that it gets shot down all the time. I don't know the nuances of that, but I will tell you this. 80% of the people, Democrat, Republican, independent, people want it. They want that accountability. So maybe it's time to do that. Yeah.
Something that's near and dear to you, healthcare.
Yes.
I can't tell you how many people I see online that say, God, help me, please, can I find a primary care that can take me? Or, I can't afford this, or I need XYZ for a test, and it's 17 weeks out, or, it's almost looking like other countries' healthcare now in Rhode Island, like Canada or UK, where you can't find what you need because there's no one left to give
There's no one left to give it, and there's a lot of people in need, right? And some people think, socialized medicine. We see that doesn't work because you end up in these situations where the care isn't accessible. So that's not the solution. It's not more of that. The solution is to improve the system we have, not necessarily overhaul it, right? Improve it. And there are so many ways. Like, I get so excited about this topic. There's so many things we can do. During COVID, we lost a lot of healthcare workers, and that hurt greatly. So we've got to start rebuilding that pipeline. There's a committee right now studying the possibility of bringing a medical school to URI. I cannot think of anything better. Well, there is one thing better. Let's make it a health sciences school. Let's encompass URI's nursing program. Let's bring in alternative medicine, chiropractic, dental, optometry. Other states have health sciences schools that are state-run, part of the state university system, and it's awesome. We have Brown. I'm a Brown graduate. I'm not going to knock Brown, but I will say they get a lot of out-of-state and international students, and those students are leaving. The bright Rhode Island kids who want to go to medical school are not getting in that program. Maybe one, maybe two. That's it. So they have to go out of state. And when they go out of state, they're not coming back. And that brings me to point two. Not only is there not a school at URI to service our kids, when they go away, they don't come back, and we say, why? Why aren't they coming home to Rhode Island? And the fact of it is that the reimbursement rates from insurance companies, particularly Medicare and Medicaid, those reimbursement rates are really, really low for doctors. And then somewhat years ago, the argument was, well, they already make enough money. We aren't going to give them more money. But they're businessmen. Maybe everyone's a businessman to some extent. In your career, you want to choose the best way. And if you're going to make more money in the Carolinas or elsewhere, and you have $500,000 in debt, you're going to go there. So we need to increase the reimbursement rates to healthcare, to providers. I think there's a third thing, the pipeline for scholarship. There is a lot of scholarship money out there. I don't know that it is all being accessed. And I hear from middle-class families that they are struggling with the expense of graduate nursing or nursing school costs and whatnot. And maybe some of that could be expanded. I think that's an easy one, actually.
Personally, I would love to see a program where someone, let's say they go to CCRI and they get their nursing degree, their first step into the medical world.
Right.
And they could do that for free.
Yes.
2 years,
You can do it for free now.
And they may take the next step, but maybe that's something they want to do, and they're now technically almost pre-med. I would love to see some kind of a program where we fund that as a loan that they pay back as they work in the state. Stay in the state, and it's paid if you decide, hey, I got my 4 or 6 year degree now after that, and I'm going to go off to Wisconsin or Texas. Okay, well, now you owe the money.
Right. So you can go to CCRI's programs for free. It's maybe when they get into URI, or if they have to go out of state for nursing school, which some do because we don't have that many seats in the nursing schools. Goes back to the health science school argument. That becomes very expensive. So rather than make it free, you make it free upon staying or free upon completion with good grades or whatnot. There are some states that actually fund their medical schools. If you're a good enough student to get in here and you've worked hard enough and you will stay and give back to the community, we'll help you. We'll offset your costs. I don't know if Rhode Island can afford that. I'm not going to be a big spender here. But do these things bear consideration? Absolutely, they bear consideration.
And it's an investment, not just an expense.
Right. I don't know anybody who's getting their doctor's appointments in on time right now. And when people do have to shop for a new doctor, the wait times to get in are astronomical. So provider access is a big one that we can talk about. But there's also other things like just overall costs of copays and access and insurances. All of this needs to be grappled with, because even if you have a good doc, can you afford the care? You know, my daughter had a blood test the other day, and it was like, I don't know, over $1,000, and my portion was $350.
Yeah, we saw recently the Attorney General's looking at between 3% and 30% increases that he's reviewing for next year, and a lot of that is, can the state work on that?
And we have to, and we're going to have to grapple in it in a really difficult way, because if you increase the insurances too much, the insurance company is going to, if you increase the reimbursement rate too much, they're going to increase the premiums.
Right.
And that's a very, very difficult place, and requires, I think, finesse and negotiation. Really aware of these issues, and I can't wait to go work on them.
Let's talk a little bit about schools.
Yes.
One of the things that we hear constantly is we do tests, the original MCAS and the Massachusetts test. And this is a bone that I have, and I'll just throw it out there, because we test the students based upon a regimen. Everybody knows what's in the test.
Yeah.
We test them, and the scores aren't good. And in lesser fortunate communities, they're really bad, where 10-15% of the students can do math, maybe 20% can do reading at the level they're supposed to get. And I don't want to see COVID as an excuse anymore, because it was bad before COVID.
Right.
It got a little worse with remote learning, and it hasn't picked up. And I hear constantly from administration, well, you can't test us on the test because we don't teach to the test. But this past year, a lot of communities, the test scores went up. And they were the first ones to jump out and say, look, we're doing better.
Right.
You can't not test and claim that's not your fault, but then take the gains. So I hear like the governor had this plan to be, we want to be Massachusetts because they do well.
They do. I think they just came out as number one. I don't know what the criteria were, but...
And I think it was, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like 2030, 2035, he wants to be the model of where we're going. Right. Can we get there? I mean, you see it at students walking into CCRI with their high school diploma. Are they ready? Can we get them ready?
So teaching CNAs at CCRI, there's a lot of women in transition, and men too, in the program. So I do get a lot of adult students, and they have big gaps in their education. But then also the younger kids, are they ready? CCRI does a tremendous amount of remediation. It's one of the best things about CCRI is that they have that remediation. One of the worst things, why do we need that remediation? Right? I mean, that's a problem right there. And so I'm a college instructor, but I'm not a teacher in the schools. And one of the things I hear from the teachers is that the children maybe aren't getting the same sort of support at home that they once got. You know, the world has changed, women in the workforce and all of these other things. And who's sitting home with Junior doing the homework? So perhaps we need to take a different look at our approach. One of the cities did the longer day. Was that Providence? It didn't work. Yeah, they just rolled it back. Trying new things surely could help. There has to be some accountability. There has to be some yardstick and measure. We need to have testing. Not having testing, I can't even speak. I can't even get a sentence out.
No, I know.
Right, like that's unacceptable, right? We have to have it. I would say, as a parent myself, I think the curriculum has changed so drastically from the 70s. We have a lot of not sticking to the basics anymore, and I think that may be part of the problem. Maybe we should give teachers the freedom to go back to teaching the basics, right? It doesn't have to be a nebulous word problem that proves your English comprehension. Give them the arithmetic. Can they do the arithmetic? Keep English in the, and it has become very congealed, sort of mixed up, that sort of curriculum. I also hear teachers complain's the wrong word, but be concerned about No Child Left Behind and how it really sounded good on the surface, but that it's not serving students the best way.
Right.
It's not serving children at the top. It's not serving children at the bottom. It's not serving all the children in the middle. Who is being served by this? Maybe we need to look at, but again, I'm not a teacher. What I am is a person who hopes to be a legislator who's darn well going to get out there and listen more to them and say, yeah, I see it's not working. Let's fix it. And the last thing I'll say is I'm not a person who necessarily sees the need to reinvent the wheel. If there's a working model, you follow that model.
Yeah.
And Rhode Island, we tend to be people who reinvent the wheel all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's been to our benefit, right?
Right.
So if Massachusetts has done it, follow it. You don't even have to be having this conversation with me. They've got a blueprint. Let's go.
Right. One of the things that our city of Warwick is very popular for right now is housing.
Yes.
I know the Speaker Sicarci rolled out with both sides of the legislation a big, huge housing project.
He has.
And really working hard to bring housing at all levels. Obviously, some people will build mansions.
Yep.
Some people will build affordable housing. Hopefully we don't see the need for too many more pallet houses, but there's all different levels that we're trying to engage in the state. We're going in the right direction.
So it depends who you ask. I hear people that say yes, and I hear people that say no. What I do see is a rising faction of young adults who cannot afford to be here. I know that we have not had a housing boom since the 70s or 80s, right? And I mean, our population has remained relatively steady, but a lot of housing has been taken out of the equation. We lost a lot of housing in South County because New Yorkers, others come in, they buy up 5, 6 lots, and they build their big, beautiful home because they're not in the Hamptons, they're going to be in Rhode Island. We lost a lot of housing in 90s, maybe 2000s to the airport, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but there's different things around the state that cause us to lose housing. Road construction changes. So we need to at least be at replacement level. But as times change and the economy changes and the market floats up, where the youngsters, the youth, the young adults, getting the money even for the down payment. But the housing isn't available. And this is why, all of it is up, up, up. Are we taking the right approach? We darn well better be taking some approach. We have to be proactive. And again, some people don't like that. It depends on the community. I've heard a lot of, I worked hard, I pay my taxes, I want to be in this. Okay, well, we can still have rural areas and we can still have dense areas. We can zone it so that you're not having I want to be in a meadowland. You don't have to have a 5-story apartment building next to you. We don't have to, we can keep fair zoning, right? But what we can't do is say, heck no, we're not going to help. This is a crisis, in my opinion. I've said that from the beginning of my candidacy this time, and I will continue to say it's a crisis, and everyone's going to have to come up to the table and agree to work on solutions. And that's hard. That is Marie being as hard as Marie can. It's hard because I know a lot of people don't want to solve the problem, but we got to.
Well, if we had more housing, we could get more medical people to move here.
We could.
Right?
Could.
I mean,
if we had more housing, the elderly would be able to downsize. They can't even do that, meaning that growing families can't leave the starter homes. Everything's in a gridlock right now.
Yeah.
Right? No.
Starter home now, I listened to one of the real estate shows this weekend,
Mm-hmm.
and under $300,000 homes in Rhode Island, there were 24. The
Wow.
whole state. That's it.
I
So
don't
your
doubt it. I don't doubt
your
it.
entry level house is now 300,000 to 400,000.
Right. And
In Warwick, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house is 350,
right. How are you?
and 20% down. So you walk in as a new married couple or a single
Bring
professional,
out 70 grand.
70 grand to walk in, and then
Closing costs, maintenance, it needs a new roof.
insurance, $3,000 a month for your payments.
Right.
You're making 65,000,
And then pay for health care, and then pay, when you have a baby. And then, no, all of it is astronomical. And the government keeps taking more tax dollars, and people are working multiple jobs. So, no, do we have a problem? Yes. Does it have to be fixed? Yes. Am I a person who's ready to get in there, fix it? Darn well, yes.
One of the things that we talked about the last time you were running and has been extremely popular
What's that?
until it tries to get to a vote is the line item veto.
Yes. I'm for it. I don't know that all Republicans are for that. I don't know. I'm for it. I think sometimes things get kind of pork-bellied into legislation, right? And that's not always in the best interest of the people. And I know there's a lot of negotiation in the state house. Scott, I'm not going to sign your bill unless you put my line in it. And you're like, oh, I really need her signature. This bill's so important to the people. Fine, Marie, put your pork in there. Oh, maybe that wasn't in the best interest of the people. The governor could be a stop on that. And of course, that would have legislative oversight as well. It would prevent a governor from just saying, well, I don't like this part, and Xing it out.
We have to be accountable for what he crosses off. He can't just say, the following people didn't donate to me or they're of the other party, so I cross all their stuff
It's not going to happen with legislative oversight. It's a safe bet. And I think this is really relevant when it comes to budgets. Like, there's a lot of stuff that might be thrown in that deserves a second set of eyes. That's not the legislator, might be the governor in this case. We have multiple branches of government for a reason, right?
Because some of those eyes at 3 a.m. at the end of June aren't really seeing very straight, and they're trying to do the budget at the last second.
It's hard. I'm sure it's hard on them. And everyone does their best, but, you get up the next morning, you're like, we shouldn't have let so-and-so put that in there. But no, I think a line item veto is important. I don't think it's popular. Like, I don't know if anyone's talking about it, but it's something that should be introduced. And maybe that would solve some of these other problems. When we're trying to improve schools, improve housing, everything we've talked about today, improve healthcare, some of the gridlock is because when the legislation's written, it's 8 billion pages long, and you're not willing to agree with what I wrote, and I'm not willing to agree with what you wrote, and it's too nebulous. It's too, maybe the line in would help. It might solve some of the problems all along. It's a universal positive, I think. Yeah.
One of the last things is term limits. So my opinion is
I'm for it.
every time someone goes to vote, they have the control of term limits.
They do.
However, a lot of people also think, and I think this kind of goes to the federal level, if I keep that guy in, he's going to bring stuff home for me, even at the city level. If I vote for Marie and she gets in there a 6th time, I'm going to be able to, she's going to bring home the bacon. The bacon that we're talking about slicing up and getting rid of, mind you. But I think people have that thought process.
Maybe. Or maybe they think the devil is safer. Right.
So you're running in an election where the incumbent is no longer running.
She's not. Because she believed in term limits. And she term limited herself very respectfully. By the way, I am serving on the board of a nonprofit organization to better the lives of veterans with Camille Bella Wilkinson and her sister. This is nonpartisan politics. It's not even political.
It's not even reaching across the aisle. It's sitting on the board.
Right. But the point is, like, people can work together, right? So I think that's good news. Sorry, I just wanted to interrupt.
No, I think that's the point. Get in, get the work done.
Get the work done, right. Good things. Yeah, so I'm for it.
Move to someone else, yeah.
I am for it. I think it's very funny that at the federal level, they're calling for term limits on the Supreme Court, and it is legislators who are calling for it. It's like, well, term limit yourself first. You have more power in writing laws than they do in interpreting them.
Right.
Right? The greater threat is in the legislature. There should be higher turnover there. So I'm all for it. I plan to term limit myself. I don't want to still age. I'll be 52 next month. And I think if I get well, awesome. If I get my 8 years, I'll be 60. And then, what will I want to do? Go be with my grandkids that, that should be around the corner at that time. I can't imagine wanting to be up at the State House as an elderly person. You've done good work, and I'll be proud of the work I've done, and then move on.
You won't want the late nights at that point.
I don't think so, or the travel, any of it. But it's not even just about the self-focus. I just think that it's for the greater good.
Well, the travel won't be a problem because we'll have transporters and flying cars by then.
Of course. Yeah, it's the Jetsons. Yeah. That's how I'm going to do it.
So, as a Republican, and I held off saying as a Republican till the end, but can the Republican Party members like yourself have a voice up there? I mean, you talked about serving on a board and reaching within the aisle. Can you have a voice up there? Can someone feel confident that bringing you into the State House is going to be a plus versus whatever Democrat runs?
I think yes. I have to say yes. A lot of naysayers will say, absolutely not. There's not enough of them. They have no voice. They have no power. It's a big club. And there is an argument for that. And I'll give you the argument I give everyone. You're a Democrat, I'm a Republican. We're on a seesaw. There's balance. There's discourse. We have to compromise. There's no way forward because we have equal power. There's 2 of you and 1 of me. You're not going to listen to me so greatly. Once there's 10 of you and 1 of me, you don't have to listen to me at all. So the argument of I have no voice is that argument, to which my response would be, who would want that? Because at that point, the 10 probably aren't even working for the people. Right? If there's no discourse, if there's no dialogue, if there's no exchange of a spectrum of ideas, it becomes a machine. It's working for itself. So will I have a voice? Can Republicans have a voice? Even if they're 10%, it's a necessary 10%. I also pride myself on being a person who is a centrist, who is a moderate. I think I have a broad appeal. A lot of Democrats voted for me. I got 49.3% last time against a very strong candidate, right? Respectfully, a very strong candidate. So I think I do have that broad appeal because I'm not coming with a single notion of my ideas and they're all over here. I'm more come to people with what's important to you? What are your ideas? How can I serve you? Because that's kind of what it's about.
And I would almost say, if I could rephrase what you just said, and maybe this is something you've never heard from this perspective, but if you're a Democrat, if you're a Democrat leader, and I'm the new Democrat coming in, why should you listen to me? You've already got your span of control. You've already got the people, the movers and shakers.
Right.
You don't need to listen to the new person. Yeah, maybe you throw them a couple committees, but a Republican, if there's 10 or 15% of them, all of a sudden now that group has to have a voice. The new Democrats don't have to have a voice.
You raise a valid point. As a minority, they have to have some say. Right? So I gave you the negative image of it feels like they don't have a lot, but the fact remains they do have to have some. If we were to lay down altogether, there would be absolutely no voice. And, 0 is less than 10%. Let's not have 0. But I don't want to make it sound like the Republicans are weak because, in fact, I think our district leans conservative.
Yeah.
I do. I think it is leaning toward the Republican Party. And some of that, we talked about this before, is because people are leaving the Democrat Party. And many people are leaving because the Democrat Party is changing. It's sort of a metamorphosis. What's the word I'm looking for?
Metamorphosis?
Yes, doing that sort of, it's changing, it's morphing. And as it changes, maybe people's ideals they're not quite so in sync with it anymore. And the Republican Party is also changing, and it's becoming the party of the people. And we are becoming the party of labor. That's happening at the federal level. Maybe at some point it will happen at the state level where they recognize, hey, I'm a nurse. I was in a union. I'm on your side, right? I think the ideology is changing and the people are recognizing, oh, maybe that ideology doesn't match me. I'm better suited over here. So I do believe Warwick is leaning red.
So, District 21,
Yes.
serving a bunch of Warwick.
Yes.
Tell the viewers out there how they can get more information about you, donate, volunteer,
Okay.
just get your ear, because I can tell you folks, no one walks the streets like this person.
I do walk.
She walks all the roads. She's knocked on pretty much, I'm sure, every door. You've been by my house.
I have a little section left that I haven't gone to, but it's only
No one
August.
that I've seen, especially in Warwick or anybody I've talked to, works harder than what you do to try to get out and speak to people, which to me is important. It's not just who has the most signs. It's who's out there listening to someone. When you knock on a door, you don't know what you're going to get. You know if they're registered and what party they may be affiliated with. A lot of times, independent, or not affiliated, I guess is the right word. But to hear what these people are saying, to me, is critical, and I so appreciate what you're doing. So
we should schedule someday a casual conversation about the experiences I've had at doors, because they have gone from funny to sad to scary. I think I could write a book. It's amazing. But I am out there. Once in a while, I get people who don't really appreciate it. They don't want you at your door. But I remind them there's a lot of elderly people that don't get on Facebook. They don't get me. How else are they? I can reach them by mail with a postcard, but they want to be heard. In postcard, you're hearing from me.
Right.
They want to be heard. And the only way they're getting heard is if I go to them. Even when I have a fundraiser or something, I had hot wieners down Connecticut Village, and it was a blast. People are busy. They have busy lives. They don't have time to come down and have hot wieners with Marie. Not necessarily. But I am out there. I am listening. And it's one of the greatest things I've done in campaigning was actually being in my community, having the opportunity to meet people I would never, ever meet, and hearing their stories and what's important to them. And whether it be I need that pothole fixed or I need the country.
Yeah.
I hear all kinds of viewpoints, and they're all valid, because as the fact of it remains, if I'm going to represent the people, I darn well need to know what the people are saying. Like, how do you not? And I said that to you 2 years ago. I think I said something very, very similar.
You did?
Yeah, our conversation must have led to the same vein, but that's the job.
Yeah.
That's the job, right?
Yeah, you can't work for the people if you don't talk to them and listen to them.
Right.
Sending out a flyer to say, this is what I'm going to do for you at any level of electoral doesn't tell me what I need.
It
just
doesn't
tells
tell me what they want.
What you think I might want.
Right. I'm just giving you sound bites and talking points. But if you want to tell me what you need and what you want, and that's for me to bring that up there, I've got to hear it directly from you. And another thing I say to people is, look, I'm really easy to find. You should reach out to me. I'm really easy to find. I take calls. I take emails. I'm out there. I'm on Facebook. I'm not hiding. I know some politicians, they're hard to find. That's not going to be me, and it's not me now. I've already proven that. And I say to them, if there's something that I say and you agree with it, awesome. I want to hear from you. But if there's something I say and you don't agree, then you really should reach out. Because how else can we have the conversation, find the common ground, or at least let me learn your perspective, right? I think that's so wholly important, and I take that seriously, and I deliver that message to people. So how do you find me? I'm on Facebook. It's Marie 4RI, letter number 4. Marie number 4RI. I have an Instagram. I have a website, of course, marie4ri.com. Actually, if you go to the Facebook or the web, you'll find all of the other links in the link tree. So I have the website, and you can reach out to me there. I will probably have another event coming up, possibly sometime later in September, and I put that out on blast on social media. And again, I am out on the doors. So for people that don't access that kind of technology, I'm coming to you anyway.
You could do a reverse trick or treat. You could go to people's houses and hand out candy.
We did do the sand pond. We did, I'm the lady in the neighborhood that gives out the full-size candy bars. They got to come to me.
Wow, all right. You've heard it here, folks. Marie for RI, full-size candy bar.
I do. I love it. It's more joy for me. I absolutely love it. And I know I get repeat customers too. I know I do. But no, we did go to San Pon and we did do Connecticut Point. So I'll definitely be at those. Speaking of Halloween, I'll be at those 2 events. There's other community events I try to show up. There's music in the village. Oh, the Connecticut Village Association is having a meet the candidates. Presently, I have a conflict. I'm supposed to be teaching a class that night. I don't know what we're going to do to work around that, but hopefully we find a workaround because that is something I think the public are invited to come and listen to. So lots of chances.
Well, thank you so much. Good luck.
You.